Welcome to the broadcast, everybody. We have official confirmation from Buckingham Palace which crown Camilla, Queen Consort of the United Kingdom, is going to be wearing and is going to be crowned with at the coronation. How exciting. And it is not going to be Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother's crown. It's not the most snappy title for a crown, that one, is it? Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother's crown. She is not going to be wearing that one. And why does that mean something? Because it means that she is not going to be sporting the Koh-i-Noor diamond of mythical, legendary and folkloric fame and controversy. I'm actually really excited because I love her choice of crown. She's going to be wearing Queen Mary's crown. And we're going to talk about that in more detail in a few moments, a little bit later. But I think it's a deft choice. I think it's a stylish choice. So I'm excited about that. We're going to talk about that. We're also, afterwards, we're going to have a tip jar corner, but it's going to be focused all on gemmies, various treasures that I found at the charity shops and vintage fairs and stuff. So it's all focused on gems this time. There will be more coming in future weeks, but this time it'll be revolving around gems for those of you that just may like to see a caddy, a showcase of that. So that's coming up. And actually, I did receive over the past couple of days a couple of tip jar treats from a couple of you viewers with Valentine greetings. So thank you for your Valentines, my dear. I wasn't going to mention Valentine's because I know that some people love it and some people loathe it. So whether you're having a blissfully romantic one or a miserable, lonely one, my dear, whatever it is, you have my thoughts and good wish. The Queen has contracted COVID for a second time. She remains in good spirits and is resting. Buckingham Palace said, after suffering the symptoms of a cold, Her Majesty the Queen Consort has tested positive for the COVID virus. With regret, she has therefore cancelled all of her public engagements for this week and sends her sincere apologies to those who have been due to attend them. Because yes, she'd been doing the West Midlands, hadn't she? I'm sure some of you viewers out there were waiting to see her. She was going to visit a ballet school and a reading group, so commiserations to you who might have been waiting to see her, but apparently she will be attempting to reschedule and postpone these events. So we send her our very good prayers and wishes, don't we, my dears, to the Queen. But returning to the subject of her crown, it's worth saying also, by the way, that the King's crown has been modified, the St Edward's crown, that has already been modified and returned to the Tower of London, but Camilla's, or I should say Queen Mary's crown, is removed from display at the Tower of London ahead of the coronation, and that's gone off for modification and will be used for the coronation of the Queen Consort at Westminster Abbey. This is the first time in recent history that an existing crown will be used for the coronation of a consort instead of a new commission. This is in the interests of sustainability and efficiency. Some minor changes and additions will be undertaken by the Crown Jeweller in keeping with the long-standing tradition that the insertion of jewels is unique to the occasion and reflects the consort's individual style. And this is very nice because these changes will, in particular, pay tribute to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, because the crown is going to be reset with the Cullinan diamonds, numbers 3, 4 and 5. Beautiful diamonds they are. And they were part of Queen Elizabeth's personal collection for many years and were worn often as brooches. And I think they have such an exquisite look about them, like watery droplets of brilliant light. Isn't it an absolutely marvellous and touching way to bring a little bit of the spirit of the late Queen Elizabeth into the coronation of her beloved son and the daughter-in-law that she blessed, gave her blessing to become queen and to be known as Queen Consort. I find it very touching. These particular diamonds, these Cullinan diamonds, have been set into Queen Mary's crown on previous occasions. Numbers 3 and 5 was set temporarily in the crown for the 1911 coronation, and number 5 was inserted when the crown was worn as a regal circlet at King George VI's coronation in 1937. And in addition, 4 of the crown's 8 detachable arches are going to be removed to create a different impression to when the crown was worn previously by Queen Mary back in 1911. Queen Mary's crown is called Queen Mary's crown because it was made by Garrards for the 1911 coronation and was commissioned by Queen Mary, who was the consort of King George V. The design was inspired by Queen Alexandra's crown of 1902. And this is actually the first time that a Queen Consort's crown has been reused since the 18th century, when it was actually Queen Caroline, who was the consort of George II. She wore Mary of Modena's crown. The Cullinan diamond and diamonds are so called because they came from the premier mine owned by Thomas Cullinan, so they're named after him. The mine was in Pretoria in South Africa, and it was uncovered in 1905, and it was so large that when it was brought back to the manager's office at the mine, one of the clerks threw it out of the window because they didn't believe that this rock could be a diamond because it was so huge. And it was 3,106 carats when it was uncut, and it was first cut in 1908 in the Netherlands. And with the first blow, when there was an attempt to cut it, the knife broke. The rock actually broke the knife, and it was on the second go that it was split into 2. And eventually they ended up with 9 stones, 96 small brilliants, and 9 carats of unpolished fragments. And in 1909, the 2 largest gems were presented to the king at Windsor Castle, and they remain the 2 largest colourless and flawless cut diamonds in the world. And you will have seen these 2 glorious diamonds during the funeral of the late Queen. One is part of the imperial state crown, and one is part of the sovereign's sceptre, the head of the sceptre. That is where they are situated. And the remaining 7 stones were mounted for Queen Mary in a variety of settings. And that is what we're talking about when one refers to Cullinan 2, Cullinan 3, Cullinan 5. They're just the various numbers for all these different stones. The official photographer for the coronation portraits has been announced, and that's going to be Hugo Bernard, who was a former society photographer. You know, he was well known for his photographs with Tatler. And he actually took the official wedding portraits for William and Catherine in the past, so he's well seasoned, he's very hooked up with the royals. He did Anne's 70th birthday photography, that kind of thing, and actually he did Charles and Camilla's wedding as well, so not really much change there or anything unexpected, but a great honour for him, you'll know. In 1953, of course, it was Cecil Beaton that took Her Majesty's portraits, and they certainly stood the test of time, so let's see what he gets out of Charles and Camilla. William made a lovely little gesture the other day with a surprise visit to an ambulance station. You know, he has form as an air ambulance pilot, and he dropped in by surprise. The staff were absolutely unsuspecting, and he shared his support for ambulance staff. You know, there's lots of strikes going on up and down the country at the moment with regards to ambulance staff and emergency service, this kind of thing. We're assured that his visit is not politically motivated, but he just wants to give a show of support to a group of people that he understands well. Princess Royal gave us some delicious broad smiles. She was laughing broadly, sharing moments of gaiety with ambulance staff herself. Ambulance staff, clinicians and former patients at Magpus Air Ambulance at the side of their new base. She was unveiling a cornerstone for the building that's in progress there at this charity. Doesn't she look eternally splendid and absolutely elegant and totally royal? Well, my fruits, let's take a trip to that place that you've come to know and love so very well. Tip Jar Corner. Welcome to Tip Jar Corner, and thank you most sincerely to those of you who have sent me a tip over the last few weeks to spend on a slice of cake or a cup of coffee or a trinket. And this broadcast will be focusing on some of my trinkets. As usual, you know, I'm a bit of a magpie, aren't I, my dear? But if you're new here, I will pick up various shiny things to show you, wear for you, display to you, and decorate the frame with. So there's usually something to tantalise you in every broadcast. And this is just a collection. Some you might have seen, some you won't have seen yet. It's fun to share them with you. You enjoy seeing them and enjoy seeing what bargains I found, because I find some really good bargains at the charity shops. Which is always fun. It makes it fun for me to go out hunting for them, you see. The magpie in me enjoys that, and also I love spending time at the local vintage fair anyway. I go there a lot, and as you know, my friend Secondhand Susie is a big part of that vintage fair, and she's become a very useful source for me because she looks out for second-hand items for me, and she actually, because she works in that field, she'll find things for me through her sort of wholesale contacts or whatever it is, stuff online. Some of my larger items, things like tiaras, anything like that I don't mention is always sourced usually through her. She's become my go-to, but a lot of it's from the charity shops as well, which you'll see here. This, for example, is my favourite find of recent days. Actually, was it yesterday or the day before? I think it was yesterday I found it. Isn't it gorgeous? Big, chunky, well, I was going to say diamond, but we can pretend, can't we, my dear? It's as large as the Coronation or the Cullinan. Wonderful sort of diamond heart there. It's really gorgeous on a long pendant. That was £4. £4 from a charity shop, and looks rather exquisite. It's just as I like it. Simple, watery, with quite a lot of facets, and on silver. I've certainly come to the conclusion I did experiment with a lot of gold, and I've continued to, but silver is definitely my colour when it comes to the metallics. But I've got a feeling you'll be seeing quite a bit of this one over the next few months because it's very versatile. Another charity shop find here, this bib. Oh, actually, I should mention, shouldn't I, that this, I don't think I've shown you this pearl choker before, and I'm absolutely in love with the colour of this particular choker. I think I've shared some ones with you before that are more white in tone, more silvery. This one has a very sort of golden hue to it. Don't know if you can see a sort of golden, almost yellowish hue, which I absolutely adore. Has almost an antique-y sort of feel to it. Really love it. I couldn't quite match the pearl earrings exactly, but I have to look out for some in future maybe. I'm totally in love with these pearls. I think they're very chic. But this bib necklace is rather fun. I like the oval shape of the purple stones and the white stones, so rather royal in colour palette there, I feel. There are 22 stones in total, so 11 of each shade, and they run in the shape of a smile. And these glossy amulets are presented on a chain of gold. Oh, and I found this mirrored compact fan at the vintage fair. Isn't it absolutely darling? Just a tiny little thing, but very useful for checking up on your lippy or checking your face throughout the day in emergencies. Isn't it lovely? Just a little royal fan that opens there. I know that I'll be able to put this to good use at some point because it's got a good shape and really nice colour. Warm tones here with these ambery sort of pendants and amulets. Various tones of golden yellow, some darker, some lighter, some verging on a fiery orange. Rounded borders and curlicues that give off quite an exotic feel to the piece. And I think it'll look absolutely fabulous hanging off of my throat. It's an ideal shape that suits a lot of open-necked numbers. And I do love it when a piece drips down and finishes in one larger stone or pendant at the bottom. It just gives it a nice finish. A few headbands here to show you, and some of you expressed astonishment when I wore some headbands recently because I'd always been quite disparaging of them in relation to Beatrice and usually and all of their headbands. Well, you can blame second-hand Susie, because she sort of thrust them upon me, and I was a bit reluctant, but I tried them out, and actually they're quite practical, aren't they, for keeping hair out of the way. So, and also it's a good alternative to a heavy crown here and there, because some of those crowns and tiaras can be rather heavy and a bit of a nuisance. Hairbands are a bit more practical and can finish off and put together a look. So I've got some more on the way actually, but these are the current ones. I like this beaded one that has a light pinkish gold radiance shot through with grey silver stripes. This one has a band of a gorgeous plush red velvet, lovely deep red there, that's adorned with rubies and scattered diamonds around the perimeter of each stone, and then there are some golden flowers with 5 petals each, and they are centered with a pearl drop, and then there are larger pearl drops surrounded by diamond lotus petals, and the centerpiece is a diamond with a gold frame and a grey silver stone, and it's trimmed with gold braid. Absolutely exquisite. Then we have this very fiery headband here with orange gemmies, orangey reddy glitter and gold, and it really is a furnace, a sort of stripe of flame. And it's also finished off with 2 diamond teardrops towards the edges and a serpentine thread running through it, again in reddy orange. This one is a cornucopia of pastels in an unusual shape with quite a unique design. Lots of green in there, in those jade emerald stones you see that have flashes of pink and apricot, and some very milky pearly stones, some circular, some longer, almost like little seeds of pastel colours. There are some lilac and mauve greys in there as well, all of different sizes, and the whole effect is really quite glittering. Another fine necklace picked up at the charity shop. £3 this one was, just £3, and it's a very shimmering silver affair with a very beautiful antique pink. The lozenges at the 2 sides have this lovely burnished antique pink effect with facets, which just warms up that cold silver. And there is a diamond pear droplet in the centerpiece, and it almost has a 3D effect as it reaches out at the bottom, and in the middle is a flower, and then there are some paler petaled flowers and some geometric designs in a fashion that actually from a distance doesn't look so floral, but almost takes on an icy look of the snowflake, which is quite enchanting and beguiling, and I think it's quite splendid. By the way, I should chip in here just as usual to say that there is a chance that there might be 1 or 2 things that I've shown you before in a tip jar corner, but I think certainly the vast majority of these you haven't seen before, but sorry if 1 or 2 slip through the net. This is one that I can't remember, but I know that it's fairly new, and it's quite a silly, whimsical little thing, and I don't know really what inspired me to pick it up, but something about it charmed me. I think it's the fact that it almost looks a bit like orange marmalade, you know, with little strips of orange peel in it. It has a sort of juicy effect that I quite like. I'm not really one for this kind of, lucite beads type thing, things that your Aunt Beryl might have worn in the 1960s, but I don't know. I just had to have it, and I picked it up, and I'm sure I'll find something to team with it at some point. This one isn't quite so sparkly, but it was only £3 from a charity shop, and I'm sure it will come in useful at some point, even if it isn't quite so bling bling as I usually prefer. But I do like these marbled stones in the middle of this brassy affair. This brassy, frilly affair. I go through different phases with gemmies, and I'm not really in a ring phase at the moment, although I'm sure it will return at some point. They can get a bit fiddly. But I did pick up this rather nice red one. Isn't it rich in colour? Lots of different reds there. Perfect for Valentine's even. Earrings now, and aren't these over the top? You've got to love them, haven't you? We begin with a diamond at the ear, followed by this golden bow with a wonderful tablet in the centre, surrounded again by myriad diamonds, and then a chunky pearl teardrop at the bottom with a halo of diamonds. So fun, so saucy, and maybe just a touch of Liberace, although I don't think he wore earrings, did he? And some other very romantic ones here. These have a very milky stone at the top, and then beautiful colour stone in the middle. It's a shame you will never really see them on camera because you have to be quite close up, but it's a wonderful blue square. And then at the bottom, lots of pink gemmies, lots of pink stones, surrounded by this beautiful design, which is almost like the Tudor rose from a distance. Really lovely, quite delightful. These earrings are so much fun, and they remind me of fashion spreads that I've seen from the 90s, where some of the models would wear, little black dresses, a little LBD number with a splash of colour to each ear. I love the colourways here, just love them. We have the contrast of a pastel pink in the middle there, almost a pastel, but it's framed by almost primary colour greens and reds, and even some rich purples and blues, and of course some diamonds and some gold. So lots of colour there. Very fun splashes of colour at the earlobes. I wore these in a recent video, didn't I? I think it was the one where I was testing out Diana's perfume. But wonderful daisy chain here. Aren't they absolutely whimsical? So many of you complimented me on them, and I have to agree. The way they catch the light is absolutely elegant and quite glorious. And I think it's lovely that the diamond petals are set off with this spring yellow. It just gives off a vibe of optimism, doesn't it? A simple pair of earrings here, long in dusky shades of pink. Different shaped stones from the oval to the square to the tear. And actually I was going to save this headpiece, which I picked up from Secondhand Susie just this week. It's very similar to a lot of my headpieces you've already seen, but a different colour. I was going to save it for another show. Well, second, I should have ordered it today because it's in Valentine red, so I should have done that, but I don't really have anything else red to go with it at the moment that matches, so I'll save it for another show. But yes, I could have worn it today, but I will give you a glimpse of it now in jam tart red. Isn't it lovely? Some beautiful rubies. So once again, thank you very much to those of you who sent along a tip jar treat to put towards my funds for these accessories. It's very kind of you and sincerely appreciated. It truly is. And I thank you for your company. I know lots of you enjoy having a little close-up look at the little sparkly things here and there, and I enjoy creating vignettes, creating scenes for you on every broadcast that make things a little bit more delicious. So, small pleasures, my dear, small pleasures, as I say, small pleasures are the best pleasures. And thank you for sharing them with me. I'll see you in the next broadcast. Stay royal and toodle pip.